Be advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch. Hi, my name's Harry Tambuatco. I really love that last phrase. You are what you watch. Totoo naman po eh. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we have seen something that's extremely divisive, and it breaks my heart even more than the content itself. It's called the RH bill. I hate it because both sides are correct. Now, depending on what you want to use as basis for discussion or where you want to stand. Alam mo, ang tawag po dyan, yung content, ang pinag-uusapan, ang discussion. Ano? The problem is, I think my heart bleeds because it's made the country more divisive. And what makes it worse, as we Filipinos being predominantly Catholic, is making the Catholic grouping even more divisive. No wonder the Protestant groupings are growing by leaps and bounds. Now, when we talk of issues that are basically divisive, what happens is not nation building. It is many other things, but nation building. Now, if I'm not mistaken, my objective and my reason of why I am on TV is singularly for nation building. Now, there are a lot of issues that we need to discuss whether we like it or not. These are called divisive issues as well. Do you remember charter change? Well, damning points of views dyan, ano? Well, you know, whether you like it or not, let the great debate begin. One of the other issues that have taken center stage, but it seems our president keeps stepping down, moving to the side, is what to do with Ferdinand Marcos, the late and deceased Ferdinand Marcos. As you well know, the body still lies in some state of whatever there in Batak in Ilocos. It is viewed by many, what do we call it, usiceros, tourists, whatnot. We go there, we look, the body has been shrinking over years. Of course, it's a deceased body kept in a crypt. It's costing the Marcoses a lot of money, but never mind that. The point is, it has divided the nation for those who believe he should be buried as a national hero and being his last wish to Imelda, Congresswoman Imelda Marcos. Or do we just let him stay and be there, and it's like parang malas sa mga Pilipino andi dyan nakalabas. After all, he was the president for whatever reason and how we ever wish to describe him. What to do with that? That's going to be our divisive issue. I know, I'm sorry. But it's best we discuss this, but this issue we'll discuss will be, look at it this way. I will generate critical thought by bringing to you a guest, and we'll bring a specific position. I tried to reach the office of Senator Bongbong Marcos twice this last week, mind you, and the week before, actually, because I wanted to interview him on his thoughts on this. Plus, of course, the fact that he's on top of the ARM election, being on the Committee on Suffrage with the Senate. Nevertheless, well, I got a straight no from the Secretary. Maybe it's his cordon sanitaire, or maybe this is the way the senators are. When it's elections, they're all around the TV. They're all around news. They're all around. They're always available to be interviewed. And once they step into office, nobody is available, because when the sessions are on, they're too busy with plenary. And when the sessions are off, they're supposedly on holiday or abroad. Funny, isn't it? But life goes on. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest for in the studio this evening is Attorney Ted Liguatan. Okay, now this is no ordinary attorney. He's a man who was here in his late teens, when he was studying law at the University of the Philippines, and moved to the States sometime in 1968-69. He represents he's a spokesperson and represents the Filipinos for good governance in the West Coast. So I take it as the California area. Hello, attorney. Thank you
Hi,
very much for
Harry.
being
How are
here.
you? Thank you for inviting me to
Paano
your
tayo
show.
magsasalita? Amerikano ka na eh.
Yeah.
Mag-English ba tayo? Mananagalang tayong dalawa.
Dual citizen, ang
Dual tongue.
puso palaging Pilipino.
Ayan,
kaya
sige.
pwedeng Tagalog, pwedeng English.
Oh, sige,
Let me
in and
just
out.
correct something. Yung college ko sa UP,
Sa
pero
UP.
yung law school sa US.
Sa Amerika ka na
Lahat ng professional life ko sa US.
Okay.
Pero palagi alam ko ano nangyayari sa Pilipinas. Dahil,
Anong taong ka umalis na Pilipinas po?
68 ako umalis.
So 68, tingnan natin. Wala pa yung Marcos. We, at that time, we had Aquino.
Nandun na si Marcos. Presidente na
Presidente
si
na siya.
Nasa student council ako ng UP nung kaya maski noon nagdi-discuss kami ng mga issues tungkol sa gobyerno ni Marcos. Kaya medyo matagal na.
Magulo-gulo yung oras na yun. Ako tatandaan ko yan. High school ako noon eh.
Kasi yung Vietnam War noon, magulo. Tapos madaming issues noon nung umalis ako na yun.
Okay, let's go straight to the issues. I know you are, your position is no to Marcos burial as a hero. Para maliwanag, hindi ka tutol ka doon. Tutol ka sa ililibing siya.
Sa ganun, dahil ang posisyon namin, hindi naman talaga hero si Marcos. Mahirap naman palabasin sa mundo na hero yung hindi hero. Kasi nakalingan siguro yun.
Sige. So let's hear the position being, you and as being spokesperson for the Filipinos, professional Filipinos in America. Ano po ang posisyon nyo at bakit?
Unang-una, noong February 1986, we Filipinos got the admiration of the world. We had a lot of pride in driving out a corrupt, greedy dictator.
People power.
Si Marcos noon had been dictator for a long time and declared a martial law.
20 years.
The Philippines had gone down in stature economically and in terms of the respect of nations in Asia because nung umupo siya, the Philippines was number 2 in Asia economically. Irespeto tayo. Ang nangyari, umupo siya 20 years at ng corruption, nangyari, madaming tao, pinreso, tinorture, pinatay, And so the people rose up. They were inspired by the martyrdom ni Ninoy Aquino. And so therefore, in 1986, we had the people's power. Napaalis si Marcos. And this became a model for so many countries in the world to follow. Madaming gumaya sa atin, madaming mga regimes na bumagsak sa Romania, sa Germany, ginaya yung people's power. Napaalis si Marcos, tumakbo sa Honolulu, doon na siya namatay. Now, lahat ng records show that this man was no hero. Napaalis na. Ngayon, gagawin natin hero. Ililibing na naman natin sa libingan ng mga bayani. Ano naman ang tingin sa atin ng mundo? Sabi, anong klaseng mga tao ito? Ibig sabihin wala pa silang control sa kanilang destiny. Nandun na naman yung power ng mga Marcos. And it sets a bad example for our youth, for following generations of Filipinos. And we think na si President Aquino, we think, is wrong in passing this responsibility to President Binay, to Vice President Binay, who is taking polls to determine kung anong dapat maging desisyon. Si President Aquino should take charge as President, lead the people where they should go. This issue of whether Marcos should be buried as a hero or not, essentially is a moral issue. It is something that you don't throw to the public and say, kayo mag-decide. Ikaw ang presidente, and you want the nation to go the proper direction, and so therefore you make that decision. Kaya ka ginawang presidente. Kaya ina-urge namin si President Aquino to take back this issue from Vice President Binay and make that decision. Yung reasoning niya that he does not want to appear biased does not make sense. Yung tatay niya namatay dahil dun sa regime ni Marcos, madaming pinreso. It's understandable that dapat bias siya in the side of good. So ang posisyon namin is Marcos is no hero. That is the truth. He's not even a war hero. Pati yung so-called medals niya sa Chinex sa Washington DC, wala naman pala mga records na gano'n. Kasi sinungalingan naman yung ibabaon natin na hero yung tao na hindi hero. It doesn't do our people any good to carry out a lie. This is our position, basically. Now, nasabi naman nitong mga supporters nila Marcos, we are a Christian nation. We should be forgiving now. So therefore, pabayaan na natin malibing sa libingan ng mga bayani to show our forgiveness. Of course, we should be forgiving. Our Lord said, forgive. He admonishes us to forgive our enemies, lahat. But forgiving is a different issue from burying someone as a hero. Si Hitler, okay, forgive na natin yun. Pero bakit naman natin ibabaon na hero yun? Hindi naman hero yun. Ibang issue yun. Those are two different issues. And that should be clarified.
Ladies and gentlemen, the role of a host is not necessarily just to interview a person, to hear their point of view and leave it there. I have to take your role as the viewer. Nanonood po kayo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take your position. Now, I'm going to assume that I will be averse to the positions that Attorney Ted has brought on. So don't look at me as if I am for or against it. Later at the end of the show, I'll tell you what I think, but I'll let the interview go on. Attorney, can we start first with the first issues? When we talk about Marcos as a plunderer, a dictator, those are things that were charged. You are a man of the law. And in the law, everything is supposed to be, until you're proven guilty, you are innocent. You most especially because that's your profession.
Totoo yan sa criminal law.
Criminal law.
Oh,
what case do we, where do we place the Marcos issue? Moral law, criminal law, civil law?
Moral law, criminal law, civil law, kasama-sama lahat yan.
Sige po. But in the position of Marcos, how do we prove, as much as I was part and parcel of it, I was of proper age. I was a high school student in La Salle during the time of the break of martial law. Yeah. But there are many ways and many viewpoints on how the dictator rolled out to be what he is and how he's being looked upon today. There is no court, legal court, in the Philippines that has committed that he has done really wrong. It is only the American courts, if I'm not mistaken, that have condemned him. Until now, Imelda, in fact, we have, as a senator, quite popular at that, is Bongbong Marcos with the very same name, Ferdinand Jr. Then we have the mother, the Imeldific, as they say in the new dictionary Webster term. They took her name, Miss Shoes, is now a congresswoman. And no less than the older daughter, Amy, who's governor now in the north. And previous to that was the first cousin, di ba, who was governor there. Now, paano natin masasabi po na masama nga si McCoy, as he is known, si President Marcos? Because there is no legal court today that has condemned him or committed him or said, judged him, so to speak.
Alam mo yung mga courts, and I've been a practicing lawyer sa US for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Courts are not perfect systems.
I believe with you. I agree with you totally.
Dito sa mga bagay na ganito, insofar as leaders are concerned, the most important court is the court of public opinion and facts.
But that's the problem, sir, when you say facts. The court of public opinion is driven by perception, which only PR can actually dictate.
Yes, but
the people itself, even the survey groups, is perception. Again, that's public relations. The truth is not essential. It is public perception based on what media projects as public perception. Because the truth is not an equation whatsoever.
Yes, I can understand what you're saying. In the world of politics, in the world of public relations,
yes, sir.
The truth suffers a lot.
There's no truth.
Kuminsan, madala siya.
No, but there's no truth. Even the media in the Philippines, if you're aware in the media in the Philippines, what media tells you is truth. The real truth is elusive.
Exactly.
What surveys tell you are also not truth.
This is exactly what I'm telling you.
Yes, sir.
There was a man, long time ago, 2,000 years ago, who was asked, what are you on this earth for? And he answered, to bear witness to the truth. And this man who asked this question answered exactly the same way that you've said. What is truth? And name of that man is Pontius Pilate. To a politician like him, truth is relative. There's no such thing as truth. But this is the same man who knew that Jesus was innocent and yet had him condemned to death. So we're dealing with these kind of things in this issue of the Marcos burial.
Nice example. Pontius Pilato. Sige, abogado nga po kayo. Sige, good.
Going back again to the analogy of that thing, see President Aquino, with all due respect to him, I think he meant well when he said he did not want to appear biased. But he has to appear biased on the side of good. And he has to take control of this issue and make the decision. He cannot wash his hands like Pontius Pilate and said, let the people decide.
Well, while I agree with you on the issue with Binay, before tackling that part, how do we prove that Marcos was evil? We know he's a dictator, but so was everybody else in Southeast Asia. We were number 2, and if I remember right, just about a week ago, it was former Congressman Teddy Boy Locsin who said it in his morning show. The reason we were number 2 was because the other countries in Southeast Asia, all the other 8, were really way below. It's not because we were exceptional that we were number 2 to Japan. Now, when the growth of the other Southeast nations began to pick up over the years, that's when we started pushing down. The economy of scale, when it came, we were less than 30 million people then, and it was only because of the American battery that came in and the influence in Southeast Asia after the war that we became what we were supposed to be. Japan was what it was simply because of its economic condition and the reparation after the war, and because of their long history, their discipline emerged to be the number 2 consumer country in the world. Now, never mind if we were number 2 then, because if we were to compare it today with the rates of today's debt, today, I'm talking 2011, the conditions today and the conditions during Marcos' time, I think we were much better off then. Except for the fact, as the saying goes, there was a lot of death. You know, there was the class suit that went with people missing. The problem is, why can't we bring it up on the legal grounds and say, hey, ikaw, binaril mo ito, pinatay mo yan. O yan, di mapreso ka. Eh hanggang ngayon, ang daming kaso na eh. Is it all our lawyers, both the government, the prosecution, the Supreme Court, Sandigan Bayan, all of them, including all the legal practitioners, the prosecutors, the judges, are they also inept that they cannot resolve this one issue?
Our problem also is, in so many ways, a cultural problem. We are what's called a damaged culture by so many sociologists. We cannot seem to get our act together. Tapos, people get away committing terrible crimes, massively stealing, massively engaging in corruption. Alam natin lahat yan. Yung huling presidente natin was involved in something like that. Everybody knew it. Pero hindi mo ma-prosecute.
Hindi, yung si Estrada, ano natin?
Tapos finorgive na naman.
Yan ang problema.
Yan ang problema natin. And we're faced with the same problems here. Now, you go back to the question, paano natin malaman na masama si Marcos pala? Well, alam natin madaming pinreso, madaming tinorture, madaming pinatay. These are proven records, these are proven facts.
How come they can't come up in court? That's my issue. Why is it? I've heard it many times, and I know it on a personal basis.
Yeah.
But legally,
no,
there's not one death that's been...
in decisions, the decision in court in Hawaii, a class action suit, gave a lot of fact, a lot of evidence. Hindi ka magkakadesisyon ng ganun sa Amerika unless you have proven your case. Itong mga tao na ito, na preso, madami, mga pamilya pinatay and all that. Nagka-decision itong judge na ito, in-appeal sa Court of Appeals, na-upheld lahat ng decision na ito. Tsaka the very fact, yung feelings ng tao, kung napakabait na tao ni Marcos, nangyari ba? Di, syempre, ginawa natin siya talagang hero, sinuport natin siya. Maari ba namang ilang milyon ng Pilipino rose up in February 1986, which is a culmination na nag-build up over the years. The whole world knows that Marcos was a tyrant. In the Guinness Book of Records, he's the biggest thief of all in history. Alam natin yun. Tapos gagawin natin ngayong hero si Marcos. Kasi nungalingan yun. Hindi naman dapat yun. With all due respect to the Marcos family, I don't hate them at all. I understand their feelings toward the late Ferdinand Marcos, mahal nila siya. Understandable yun. We respect that. Ano? But the interest that we're promoting here is the interest of generations of Filipinos. You know? If we declare him as a hero, anong haharapin natin na mundo, especially mga overseas workers? Kaming unang haharap doon, ang klase mga tao naman kayo, sinipa na niyo ito si Marcos, gagawin pa niyong hero ngayon. Anong klaseng mentality yan? Sabihin talagang damage yung culture niyo. Hindi kayo marunong mag-isip. Ganyan ang position namin. Totoo naman yun, kasi kami nakaharap doon eh.
Attorney, we're going to have to take a short break. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, what I'm going to try and do is play the proper role of a professional host, which to take the two sides. Now, I will be a little bit more argumentative. I hope you don't mind, Attorney Ted.
Please.
Just para maganda yung maliwanag yung usapan. The problem is perception, truth. The problem is moral values versus legal. Which way do you want to go? The problem is, what do you know? What do I know? Remember, there was that saying, can we even handle the truth? I always like to say, you're only as good as what you watch, what you read, and what you hear. Now, that's the problem. Truth versus perception. Reality, being surreal, and the game of TV, which everyone in the Philippines likes to watch almost every single day and night. What do we follow? Who do we believe? Who are we? Do you know? Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello, my name is Harry Tambatco. We're back to the second portion. We have Attorney Ted Liguatan. He's a spokesperson for the Filipino professionals in the West Coast in America. He grew up here, is 100% Filipino, but in his professional life studied and raised and practices in America. He's here in the Philippines, and our topic today is what do we do with Marcos? Meaning not the senator, not the congresswoman or the governor, but President Ferdinand Marcos, whose body still has to be interned because of his last request to his wife. Right now, the body lies in a state of whatever, in Batak, in Ilocos. And it's there very much like Stalin, where people come and gawk and look at it for no fee. And they watch. What do we do? Do we bury him? Do we not? That's where we're at. Attorney, when we left off, you're talking that you were saying it's a natural fact, moral and value-wise, everybody knows the truth. And no less than American courts have condemned him and sentenced him, so to speak. Ang problema po, bakit sa Pilipinas, hanggang ngayon, ni isang kaso, wala pa nananalo na ganun nga. Ang nangyayari nga, lahat ng kaso, all 88 cases, if I'm not mistaken, have all been dropped or sunod-sunod. In fact, we have Imelda, who's the Imeldific, is the one who is now in Congress. In fact, all the congressmen, kung hindi lang against perception, would have sent her for, let's see, the position against poverty at the United Nations some 10 months ago. Then we have the younger, the oldest sibling, which is governor now, again, of Ilocos Norte. And we have the son, Ferdinand Jr., who's now a senator. Mind you, who came in as number 6 in the Senate race. So, obviously, on the national level, the local level, and all around here, basically, the Marcoses are still very popular. Oh. Now, why you say that you talk and you take the position he's definitely corrupted, he was an authoritarian in ways that he has caused the death and murder of many people, and yet no single court in the country has proven that, in spite of the U.S. judgment.
Unang-una, Hindi mo naman makakonvict si Marcos dahil napaalis sa Pilipinas tapos namatay. Hindi mo na pwedeng dalhin sa court of law, napatay na yung tao, di ba? Kaya, paano mo convict? Now, insofar as...
But there's no conviction as corruption until today.
Well, as against Marcos, hindi na pwede, napatay na, di ba? Now, paano mo convicted ng corruption? Hindi mo pwedeng kasuhan na yung patay na tao. Criminal case yun, ano? Now, if you talk about yung civil case na sinusubukan ng gobyerno makuha yung mga ninakaw, nakatakot-takot.
Imelda just got back to a lot of property. She's getting back a lot of it now.
Oh. Alam naman
What's wrong with our judicial system?
Siguro alam mo sagot dyan kung what's wrong with our judicial
Well, you're the law. You're the man of the law.
Well, alam mo,
I have my own frustrations with our legal
alam mo,
system from the prosecutors up.
lahat ng Pilipino would like a country with a legal system that really provides justice. Ano?
So are you saying that the Supreme Court, Corona, and everybody else in the Supreme
I will
Court
not go
are
into...
incompetent?
No, I never said that.
No, but would you say that?
I wouldn't say that. I think...
We have a General Garcia that was caught in America red-handed, bringing in, what, $100,000, a million or something like that, red-handed, and we let him go. And we compromised. And now, ang dami nangyayari.
Talagang madami nangyayari. Lahat naman tayo, mahal natin ng bayan. We hope and we wish. Kaya naman kami active sa UN. Wala naman kami ibang agenda rito. Ano? Yung US Pinoys for Good Governance, national organization yan, by the way, hindi West Coast organization.
I'm sorry. So it's all over America?
All over America. Right. Mga doktor yan, mga lawyers, mga writers, mga academicians. And who cares about the Philippines? Ano? Yan ang purpose for this organization, to help create a better Philippines. We know that madaming tao dito nagsasuffer, madaming bata na ginugutom.
Attorney Ted, why should you care about the Philippines if you already migrated? I asked the same thing with my dad, who's very into the local politics. Sinasabi sa kanya, ba't ka pa nakikialam? Wala ka na nga dito, kami na lang narito eh.
It's a love for one's fellow man. Ano? Hindi ibig sabihin, pag umalis ka ng bahay, wala ka nang pakialam dun sa tao.
But if we love each other so much, I'm sorry if I'm being adversarial.
Go ahead.
If we love each other, Filipinos, so much, why are we so corrupted and so inept? We can't even resolve the Marcos issue, which is, it's majority thought. I agree with you in the general perception that he was who he is, that you said that he is. But how come we can't even convict him, condemn him? Wala. We vote back into the power. You have to remember,
I think we could...
Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has a mandate in the Senate, no less. That's national.
Alam natin yung mga yan, pati Philippine elections yan, nakukurap eh. Hindi ba? Yan ang reality. We have to face the reality about our system. Ano? Madaming problems in our system, with our courts, with our electoral systems. Ano? Napakadaming problema. Kaya kawawa yung Pilipino talaga. Kami na tumira sa ibang bayan, alam namin napakahusay ng mga ibang sistema doon, na hopefully we're able to influence the Philippines in bringing these changes, these reforms here. You know? We see the problem. We see the problems in the courts. I've been a practicing lawyer sa US for 30 years. Nakikita ko yung courts dito. Nakikita ko yung corruption sa court. I won't even mention yung incompetence. Yung mga iba incompetent na
you don't even have to go up, prosecutor na lang eh.
Pati mga prosecutor.
3 taon bago makaresolve ang isang kaso na pinapasok eh.
Pinapasok ng politiko yung court system, sasabihin ng executive branch doon sa mga prosecutors, kaaway natin yan, banata mo yan. Kaibigan natin yan, huwag mong banata yan. Ganyan
so the Filipinos don't love each other. And yet you say when you go abroad, you love the Filipinos. And here we must. If we love each other, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. Obviously, we hate each other. That's why we're corrupting each other.
Hindi naman totoo yan. Madaming Filipino napakabait na tao. But they're caught in this whirlpool of corruption in a system na mahaba ang history na good people, I think, can change the system. Ano? It starts with them trying to do what they can to help their own fellow men. Ano?
Is President Pinoy good?
Ang tingin ko kay Pinoy ay mabait na tao. Ano?
I asked you if he was good.
Because
people are saying, he promised not to be corrupt. Totoo nga naman eh. He didn't promise to be a good leader, but he promised not to be corrupt. And that's what he's doing.
But to be truthful.
At wala nang kamag-anak Inc. It's called Kaklase Inc.
Unang-una, I was one of the national co-founders for US Pinoys for Noynoy March. Sinuport namin talaga si Noynoy doon.
There's another one. We reward the person who loses the election with a position higher than the vice president where he lost to.
Oh, ganun
Di ba?
din yun.
Comedy,
but,
no?
But going back to what you were saying, yung question mo, is Pinoy a good man?
Yes.
I think he's a good man. Ano? Pero the presidency is a learning process. Ano? And,
Is he a good president then?
masyado maaga pa to say whether he's a good president
When
or
are we
not.
going to wait, sir? After 3 years? It's 1 year.
Dumadaan ng time na ganyan. Itong burial ni Marcos na ito,
Hindi
This
dapat
is-
pinasa
this-
niya kay Vice President.
I don't think he should have done that. Pwede pa na niyang kunin ulit yan, tapos make a decision on it. I think this will be an important defining moment for him. Ano? And I speak as a
Please.
as a supporter
Your
of,
position is clear. It's loud and clear.
Oo.
You're against it. So say your piece.
Oh. And si President Aquino, this is his defining moment, itong issue na ito. If he allows the burial of Marcos to happen, alam na ng buong mundo na hindi hero yan, under his watch, and his father was a martyr na naging biktima ng Marcos dictatorship, ang palagay ko, bababa ng husto ang kanyang credibility sa mga supporters niya, sa mga taong edukado, sa mga taong who wants a better Philippines, and sa buong mundo. And I don't think he can recover that credibility if he allows this thing to happen. Ano?
While Tita Cory was the bastion of democracy, we all know we had the hardest and it was the worst economic times of the Philippines. That was a time we were in darkness, total darkness. And the 6 years was there, and we really didn't accomplish very much. In fact, by way of infrastructure, there's not much to speak of. And yet, we voted back the sun after her demise. Now, why has that happened again? It doesn't make sense.
To be fair to President Cory, she took over a government na bankrupt. Ninakaw ng katakot-takot ni Marcos yung gobyerno na yun. Everybody was intimidated. Everything was in disarray. Ano? Tsaka yung bureaucracy na kanyang tinake over, bureaucracy ni Marcos.
But why is it 10, 15 years later, we're back to where we started? Parang walang people power. We're in the same quagmire of confusion, corruption, incompetence, which is what we see in today's government. And now we're blaming it on Gloria. It doesn't make sense.
No,
We love each other, and yet we corrupt each other. We work within a system called the law, but the law is incompetent. Again, it's so incompetent, it's so corrupted. How do you expect to rule under a certain discipline or civility? Hindi kaya.
You know, sabi nga ng mga in-check, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. We are in a situation as a country, as a people, so sort of unique. Ano? Dami tayong problema, but sino magsasolve nung kung hindi tayo? A lot of us hate it.
You realize that 210 congressmen, which is a good 65, almost 70%, voted to bury him.
Yes, 219.
Okay, to be exact, alam mo pala, into libingan. And did you know that Marcos falls under specific categories out of 5? He was a past president. He was in the military. That part we can establish. If there was one more issue, being Filipino. And he falls into other categories, but then again, based on perception. And yet, you're saying he should not be buried there.
Ganito
Because
yan. Nothing is written in stone. Ano?
Neither is any constitution.
We should change things when it is for the good of the country to change it. Hindi ibig sabihin, parang nakalagay doon yung presidente, yung eto si Kwan, dapat ilibing dyan dahil sinabi ng libro. No, we can change those things. We can be flexible. We can amend those things because what we're interested in is the good of the country. Yun ang poll star natin. We're always looking at that. Ano ba mahusay sa bayan?
But where do we identify fact versus perception? That's the problem. I agree with your points of view. I can hear it. I hear you very loud and clear. But where do we say, hey, ito ang totoo, ito hindi?
Yan ang obligasyon, palagay ko, ng kada individual, kada tao, to find out what is true. Ano? Kasi in this kind of society, lahat ng klaseng propaganda, tinatamaan ka, madaming journalist na ang concern, envelopmental concerns ang tawag nila, natitwist yung fact, propaganda, papalitan yung fact, didistortin yung fact, gagawa ng misdirection. Now, napakahirap sa individual na alamin, ano ba talagang totoo? Ano? Lalo na yung taong kulang sa information, yung taong nagtatrabaho sa mga farms, ganyan, nasa probinsya, kulang sa pera para pag-aral. Ano? Napakadaling paikutin ang kanilang utak. Kaya obligasyon ng mga taong edukado, matalino, who are concerned about the country, to bring the country toward the right
What is
direction.
wrong with our congressmen if 219 voted for Marcos?
Yung mga congressman, babae at lalaki na yan, I don't think that they are evil per se. Ano? I think they are being intellectually dishonest for their own personal welfare. Ano? Madami diyang kilala ko. Ano? Madami naman sa kanila, hindi naman masamang masama. Kaya lang, because of intellectual dishonesty, sabihin na, accommodating na rin natin ito, baka magamit natin ito sa next election. Madaming pera ito mga
Allow
tao
me
na
to
ito.
create a small analogy. 3 months ago, the son of Governor Chavit Singson was caught red-handed with drugs in Hong Kong, and he's incarcerated. It took Congress a while to identify the conviction and to agree with it, to oust him from the family of congressmen. We had an election over the weekends, and no less than the younger brother, Ryan, now sits on his behalf. Tell me where the values, morals, and the truth. Where is it in this situation? So we condemn one, obviously not necessarily our own doing, but some other country, caught red-handed using drugs, no less. This is a real issue. Now, may drugs na yan, natanggal na siya sa Kongreso, nagkabotohan, kuha tayo ng bago representative, binoto na naman yung mga tao, yung kapatid, di ba parehong kapangalan yan? Bakit gano'n ang Pilipino?
Well, alam mo naman ang ating culture talaga, very clannish and all that. Sa mga probinsya, may mga warlords and all that.
Is it not defective?
Defective
Oligarchy,
yan.
monopoly, di ba?
Defective.
Oligopoly, ano pa?
Makita mo na lang yung mga ampatuan. Bakit nila nagawa yun? They were so confident they get away with murdering so many journalists. Kasi they felt that they were being protected by this administration.
He's still not yet convicted, mind you. He's still
Kaya,
innocent
hindi pa.
until that.
Hindi
It's
pa.
been a year.
Tapos may mga cellphones sa
Well, we have Leviste, former Governor Leviste, who was seen in Makati
Another
after
example.
incarceration. If you can't even keep him in jail after he's been convicted, para ka pinagko-court.
Kaya lahat ng Pilipino talaga, pag kausapin mo sa kalsada, they are so frustrated.
So why
Kaya
do you
sa-
like the president if the president is supposed to be a good man? Why is this happening? This didn't happen during martial law, mind you.
Alam mo-
In martial law, if you're perceived to be against government, you're supposed to be whatever, di ba?
I do not believe that one man can solve everything. You know?
A couple of good men?
President Aquino,
How many can solve the Philippines?
I think as many good men as possible who mean well, na talagang binibigay nila.
Do we have those men in this country?
I believe so. I believe so.
When
Very
are they
many
going to
good
ever
men.
come
Madaming-
out? My hair's already turned white since I've gone on TV. It's
Madaming
still turning
tao-
white by the day.
Madaming mga tama, madaming mga doktor trying to do their duties. Madaming
The doctors here, remember, ang dami namamatay dito kasi the doctors charge much too much before they repair you or fix you up medically.
Mali naman
Medicine is very expensive in this country. I'm talking about the profession.
siguro. Mali naman siguro.
As far as the engineers, we have buildings that are collapsing, dropping because they're not built properly.
Masyadong sweeping naman na sasabihin lahat ng doktor, kwarta lang yung nahanap, mga engineer, ganyan din.
Hindi naman. Kung mayaman ka sa Pilipinas, may doktor, kaya mo bayaran. Pero kung wala kang pera, mas maigi mamatay ka na lang kasi uubusin ka. Ang story sa Pilipinas, pag middle class ka at walang nagkakasakit, okay na okay ang buhay nyo. Pag isa nagkasakit dyan, isa lang, at pumunta ka ng hospital, I guarantee you after the event, they're poor. Hindi na sila middle class.
Kaya kailangan tayo magtulong-tulungan, people of goodwill. Pero I cannot agree with you na lahat ng doktor ang isip gano'n. Dahil madaming doktor din na sinasacrifice yung sarili nila para sa mga mahihirap. Kuminsan sila pa nag-aabono dun sa medicine para sa mahirap. Ganun din
Maybe
yung mga
one case
abogado
or
na
two.
iba. No?
Case to case, maybe one or two, but a sweeping general statement would be more the perception of the way I presented it. Because this is really the reality of this country. We've got hospitals that charge you an arm and a leg, literally. Ayusin nga puso mo, pero paglabas mo, wala ka ng paa, wala ka ng kamay. Kasi sa mahal ng ang cost ng hospital.
We live in the real world. Ano? Alam natin itong mundo na ito, madaming kasamaan na ganyan, greed and all that. But we cannot allow that to discourage us in trying to create a better world. Because if we do, ang magiging tingin natin sa sarili natin, hopeless pala lahat to, wala na tayong pag-asa. No? So, we cannot allow the darkness to engulf us. We should always look forward to see what we can do, rather than curse the darkness. We light one match to bring some brightness into some people's lives. limited ang magagawa natin kumbinsa. But we don't know the extent that good will spread. No?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going towards the end of the program, and I'd like to give Attorney Ted Laguatan time to talk to you straight, give you a 1 or 2 minute exit message. Attorney?
Yes. Salamat sa pag-imita mo sa akin dito, Harry. I
You're very
appreciate
welcome,
it. We are a people trying to create a better Philippines for all. Madaming tao sa Philippines talaga nagsasuffer because of poverty, because of oppression. Yung mga taong powerless, ang tagal-tagal ng powerless, no chance for a decent future. Madaming mga bata nagkukut-kut sa basura para sa pagkain. Nakakaawa itong mga bata na ito. May chance ang maging mahusay na mga tao sa future. May potential for genius and all that. So we're struggling to create a better country. Now, itong burial ni Marcos na ito, alam naman natin hindi hero yan. Yan ang katotohanan. Ang daming pinreso, ang daming pinapatay, nagnakaw ng katakot-takot. Yung pag-declare siya ng martial law, hindi totoo. Maski si Ponce Enrile, who was the defense secretary, ginawa siyang excuse noon na para mag-declare ng martial law. Sinabi, hindi totoo yung gawa-gawa lang. It was a terrible time. Kaya gagawin natin hero ngayon yan. Then, if we do that, we are carrying on a lie. Hindi katotohanan. Hihiya-hiya sa mundo yan. Anong haharap natin sa mundo? Anong haharap natin sa ating mga future generations of Filipinos? Kung gagawin natin role model, itong tao na hindi naman hero. Wala naman akong galit sa mga Marcos family. Sinasabi ko lang kung anong totoo. At itong sinasabi ko, para sa ating kapwang mga Pilipino, we deserve a better country. We deserve a better world. And if we don't do anything to do what is right, we only have ourselves to answer to. Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Attorney. I promise at the end of the program I'll make a position. I think my position is not necessarily evading the question or very directly, what do we do with the body? Do we bury it or do we not? While there are many arguments on why we should bury him in Libingan ng mga Bayani, there are equally just as many arguments why we should not. What the other people of the world will think of us, well, we already know anyway, so I need not tell you. We need not try to figure out what they will think of us. We already know. The problem, ladies and gentlemen, is us. Now, never mind you and me, because we're messed up. And as a people, well, we're obviously messed up. I don't believe we have really stepped forward because of the confusions we caused. This is called the quagmire of whatever we're in right now. It doesn't seem to get any better. Now, our leaders have a mandate, and that mandate is based on a majority called the election, the democratic process. We have a leader, and Attorney Ted is correct when he says he should take the bull by its horns, meaning the president, and make that decision and not pass it on to the vice president. Either way, I will have to live with that decision. At this point, I'm so muddled and confused about trying to rationalize the wrong, the right, the truth, perception, and whatnot, that I would rather stay and say support the system based on what the actions of the president has. He is going to have to make that decision, and the sooner he makes it, the better. Look at the RH bill, where it's going. I guarantee you the loser here will be the Catholic Church, number one, and number two, the Filipino people. Because there are so many arguments for and against, very much like charter change, which will soon crop up anyway. Now we have this divisive issue again called the ARMM elections. And then we also have now the Marcos burial. Whichever way it goes, I will support, because I think I'm just about right in the middle on which way it should go. But I would not do it, or I will not say, let's do it because of them, because of the people of the world. No. I'll do it because it's a decision the president has had to take. And if I was president, what a hard position. I do understand. My heart bleeds for the president. It is difficult. But you see, I'm not the president. You asked to be the president, and you went on the campaign trail, and you won. Now that you've won, my gosh, do what is right and do what is not necessarily popular. Because you're our leader, and you're supposed to take over and make that decision. When Obama decided to make that decision to take out bin Laden, he wasn't sure it was the man inside that wall. And when he did, he was praised to high heavens. What if it wasn't? What if it was the other way around? More shame, more problems with Pakistan. You see what I mean? Leadership is the ability to make judgment, to make reasonable judgment, to take that, to go out on a limb if necessary, so to speak. So I guess that's where we're going to take it. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed our show. We tried to bring to you critical thought, and I hope I succeeded in doing that. The Marcos issue, you make that decision. Email me. Tell us what you think. harrytambuatco@yahoo.com. Maraming salamat po. If you want to watch our show, pick it up again at the web. That's at, let's see, YouTube, spell it with a Y-O-U, /GNN Talk to Harry. It's quite simple. And you'll pick it up in about a day or two, at least for this show. Maraming salamat po and good night. Thank you very much, Attorney.
Thank you.
You are what you watch.